Hi, welcome back. It's been a long time, but now is not the time to discuss why it's been a long time, so please expect at some point that I will address my month-long absence. However, for today, I'm finally bringing you my review for The Sword of Light by Caroline Logan. Now, I do have a few things that I need to go through before I obviously start the review. The first one being this is the third book in the Four Treasures series, so I may end up giving away some spoilers for the first two books. I'm going to try and not do it, but just in case, you might want to go back and read the first two books before you watch this video. And I also have a review, or two reviews out for the first and second book in this series in case you're interested in those before you read this one and then watch this video, but I will not be spoiling anything for this book. Another thing I should probably mention is that Caroline Logan, the author, and I are actually friends. I will say though that we didn't start talking until after I had read the first book in the series, so I mean I started this series and fell in love with this series before I became friends with Caroline Logan. Nonetheless, I thought I should mention it just in case anyone is uncomfortable with the thought of me giving an unbiased review of this book. Although there may probably is some bias there, I did go into this book as subjective as possible and tried to be as unbiased as possible, but it is kind of hard when Caroline Logan, I think, is such a wonderful person, and also I've loved the series since book one, so maybe if you're looking for a completely subjective review, don't watch this one. And the third and final thing that I should probably mention before getting into this review is that the publisher was very kind enough to send me an early copy of this book. Obviously my review is coming quite late despite being given that early copy, but we'll go through that at a different point. I was so shocked and grateful when this was sent to me, and I was so blown away and just amazed over the fact that anyone thought I was worthy enough to get an earlier copy of this book. And I have all of the appreciation and thanks to give to Cranachan and Caroline Logan. I thought I would give those little disclaimers at the start of the review just in case anyone is uncomfortable with the fact that I am giving a completely unbiased and subjective review of this book, just in case you don't think I can do that and you would rather watch a review that is coming from a place of complete subjectivity. So now that we're all on the same page. So as I've said before, The Sword of Light is the third book in the Four Treasures series by Caroline Logan, and we once again follow our main cast of characters with a few new additions as they once again split up and go and find the remaining four treasures. This was once again a really thrilling and fun adventure novel that was also once again really cozy. I just feel like thrilling adventure and cozy just doesn't go together, but in this book it really does. From the very first line, I was completely hooked. I struggled putting it down, as is the case with every other novel that we've had so far. I mean, the first two novels that we've had so far. There's just something about these books that are so easy to binge and so easy just to be completely immersed in. And this one was no different. I was immediately reminded as well how much I just love the cast of characters that we have. I absolutely adore them with all of my heart. I really wish that Angus was a real person that I knew, because he would be the greatest person just to have around. Just his energy would just be so much fun just to be around all the time. I also really love our new characters that we're introduced to, and I've been really enjoying recently, and when I say recently I mean in this book, but also slightly in the second book, more so in this book, learning about the characters that we didn't really necessarily get too much of in the first book. We got a little bit more in the second book, but they were completely fully fleshed out in this one, and I'm specifically talking about Iona. From the first book, Iona wasn't necessarily one of my favourite characters. I still loved her, but she wasn't, I wasn't completely sold. Then the second book came by and I was enjoying her parts in the story. And then this book came by and I'm sobbing for her. She has the most interesting development in this novel, and just seeing her history with herself and the previous king, and her history with Harris and stuff. and just seeing what she wants and what she's thinking about after all of it's done, after they've saved the world, was really interesting and just really heartwarming to read about. I also really love the relationships that have been developed since book 1 in this series. They are definitely some slow burns, but also not necessarily like dragged out. They have something new every book so far. There's not like the same relationship. They develop so well alongside the plot, which just makes so much sense and definitely gives those relationships a much more realistic element to them, because obviously when you're going through what these characters are going through, your relationship isn't going to stay the same with those people, and it definitely shows as these books go on. And that was something really interesting and really wonderful to see in this book especially. And I won't give any spoilers, but I think if you've read it, you'll know who I'm talking about. I think no matter what kind of reader you are, a character-driven reader or a plot-driven reader, you're definitely going to find something that you're going to love in this series. It works so well as a plot-driven novel because it is an adventure novel. It's a fantasy, and the characters are going through these massive, fun, cozy adventures. But at the same time, there is so much character development. And it's realistic character development that I think it works really well as a character-driven novel as well. Coming to the plot though, the amount of plot twists that you could probably pull out of all 3 of these books is intense. And the ending of this one. Every novel so far has had its own little cliffhanger, and it's been a massive cliffhanger that's like, how are we supposed to wait for the next book to find out where this goes? And then those cliffhangers come to a point, come to a conclusion kind of in this novel. And then there's a bigger one at the end of this novel. I'm still trying to comprehend what I read at the end of this book. It was so intense, so amazing, and I'm so on board with finishing this series. I cannot wait for this final book to come out, because that was on a new level. In terms of the fantastical and mythological Scottish elements, I do feel like they are a much bigger part of the story in this novel. I have noticed from the first to this one that the Scottish elements and the fantastical elements kind of become a bit more centre stage in the novel, not necessarily as in they're taken away from the plot or the character development, but they do become a bigger part of the story, a bigger part of the world building, and that was something that I absolutely loved about this book as well. It feels like Scottish culture and the fantastical classic mythological elements of this series has become such a bigger part, and that was wonderful. I think for so long I've been craving a fantasy that is just so colourful, and it's in the way that it's just got so much fantasy. The world is so far away from our own, whilst also gripping to the reality that it's not too far, if you know what I mean. And that's definitely what I've gotten from this series. There's a lot more mythology involved, there's a lot more Scottish slang involved. The characters are basically just people you'd see walking down the street in Scotland, and it's been great to see that develop throughout the whole series, but especially in this novel. Need I say what I gave this book? Obviously I gave it 5 stars, but once again it's worth way more than 5 stars. These books just hold a completely unique and deep part of my soul and my heart. These books have my soul and my heart. I love the character development, the plot development, I love the Scottish and fantastical elements of it, and like I've said before, these are so bingeable. They're so easy to read and read quickly. This took me 2 days to finish. It's a chunky book. It took me 2 days to finish, and that was so great, especially because I had so much to do when I was reading it, and it was a good break away from all of those things. I think this is a great series to get you out of a reading slump, and also a great series to introduce you into fantasy, because this has those classical fantasy fairy tale elements while also giving it a modern twist and including some Scottish culture in there. What else could you want, really? And obviously it was published by a Scottish indie publisher and a Scottish author, and Although I am definitely 100% biased on that, I do think that it's always fun and good to support indie publishers as a whole. But like I said, because I'm Scottish, I'm biased to Scottish publishers. Anyway, because I love this series so much, and I recommend that everyone who has watched this video and any of my other reviews on this series should pick it up, I will leave Cranikin's website in the description so you can pick up this series yourself. But either way, just please, if you have the time and the means, check this series out. You will not regret it. It will benefit you so greatly, and it's top tier. It's top tier fantasy, really. So that is all for my very, very, very late sort of light review. I did not mean for this review to be so late. Nonetheless, here we are. If you have read The Sword of Light and you enjoyed this review, please let me know by liking the video. And also, if you've read The Sword of Light, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Or even if you've just read the first 2 books, let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts on the first 2 books in the comments. If you want more videos from me, because I will be uploading more soon, please subscribe to my channel. I will be going back into a semi-frequent regular schedule in November, hopefully. If you want more content from me, all my social media is linked in the description. And that's all for this video. My camera battery's about to die, so I'll see you soon for another video.